Good morning. Hey guys, this is live finally. All right, the take. I'm Pete Najarian for Market Rebellion, and we've had a couple of Mondays in a row that have been absolutely extraordinary moves to the upside. Why? Well, last week, obviously, it was Pfizer. This week, it was Moderna, and everybody got very, very excited. So we had the markets moving to the upside. Now, last week, they were up 1,700. This week, up 300 or 400 points, not really the same kind of reaction. And I think it's because of the fact that people are finally understanding that it's not like that vaccine is ready today. And I think that's part of the process that people are going through. But that didn't mean the markets weren't still shifting to the upside. They absolutely were. They were running to the upside, as a matter of fact. We got really close to Dow 30,000. I remember the days when we were running for 3,000. That's how long I've been around. So 30,000 Dow, we got very, very close. We got near that 12,000 level again for the NASDAQ. But there was that disconnect once again. And when you look at the NASDAQ, it started to shift and actually get into positive territory. But early on, the NASDAQ was actually still in negative territory while we were watching the Dow actually scream to the upside. So what was really powering the Dow? We always want to know what are some of the instruments within it that are really pushing things around. Industrials, absolutely exploding to the upside. Yesterday, Boeing was up about 7%, Honeywell, Dow, those names up about 3% as well. But it was also energy. As energy's holding right around that 41 level, the interesting thing is that we haven't really seen oil really shifting around a whole lot. But you look at the OIH, you look at the XLE, and you can see energy really exploding to the upside. Names like EOG and BP, ConocoPhillips. This is a trading environment. This is something I talked about yesterday with Scott on the halftime report, Scott Wapner. We were talking about what kind of markets are we in. And when you've got the volatility where it is right now, somewhere between 20 and 25, that's a more difficult type trade, which means it's trading time. These aren't investment times. These are times to actually really start to trade. And so that's what we're seeing a little bit more of. And you've got to be nimble and you've got to be extremely disciplined because they can pull the rug out in a second. In terms of the energy names, how about Chevron running up about 6% yesterday? OIH was up nearly 9% yesterday for those service names. So Diamondback, all these various names, really ramping it up to the upside. Financials. The financials have finally shown us that they have a little bit of room to the upside. Take a look at JP Morgan. I talked about that forever on these takes, and I talked about stuck at 100. Yeah, it would get below 100. It would just get a little barely above 100, and now it's finally broken out to the upside, and we've had a really nice move in JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley and a lot of the other names, Capital One as well. So we've really had a pretty nice performance from those financials, up about 1.5% yesterday. Semiconductors have been on fire. We all know that. And that was up yesterday. The AMD, I'll tell you what, Taiwan Semiconductor, that was a powerful move to the upside, 6.5%. How about Micron? We had all that paper in Micron. We've had paper in Micron, continued to have paper even yesterday in Micron, and that stock was screaming to the upside. This is a stock a month ago. We were talking about this, 49 to 60. That's a really rapid run for this quality company, Micron. This isn't just coming on and people are trying to estimate all the rest of this. This is a very mature company that has a really major move to the upside of late, and that's been great. Well, by the end of the day, we look over at the Dow. The Dow's up 470 points. You look over at the NASDAQ, it's up 95 points. Well, what was really powering that was the final hour, because we really added about a couple of hundred points to the Dow in the final hour. We also added about 65 points for the NASDAQ. So we've been talking about these themes for a long time, and the theme being the final 30 minutes, 1 hour, maybe even 2 hours, but the big, huge, monstrous moves, both to the upside and the downside. Lately, it's been primarily to the upside. So I talked about the VIX trading around 22, 23, sort of right in that sort of category right now. Again, like I said, between 20 and 25. Take a look at the volume. I bring this up all the time, and I do because it is so important, and you have to understand what I'm talking about. The volumes that we see day in and day out in the derivatives markets are spectacular, and they are absolutely exploding versus some of the greatest years ever, 2009 or 2018, 2019. We were getting up there 19 million, 20 million a day. Give this one a look. How about 34 million yesterday? Again, you heard me talking about the volumes over the last couple of weeks and how we've just continued throughout 2020, and not just at the lows. Even here at, call it the highs, we are seeing incredible volumes and a lot of use of the options world. I'll tell you what, Apple, that was actually interesting because it was less than normal. It was a little over 1 million contracts yesterday. NEO, 930,000 contracts. GE and Boeing, they both doubled their average daily volumes, and they were both around 600,000 contracts trading yesterday. Just an incredible move to the upside. So As we get into the earnings right now we start talking about Walmart, we start talking about Home Depot, we talk about Kohl's, we talk about Nvidia and Target and Lowe's and Clorox and L Brands. That's this week, and that we started this morning, as a matter of fact. Early indications. We were looking at a market down about 270 points. About 15 minutes, 20 minutes into the day, we're down already, starting to shift down to the downside on the Dow, down about 300 points. We were down as much as almost 400 points. We have rallied back now in this first hour of trade. We're down about 280 points right now, or call it 1%. How about the NASDAQ? The NASDAQ started the day actually inverse once again. You know, this dislocation we talk about, and the NASDAQ was actually in positive territory in the pre-market. Then it started to slip. It got down about 50 points. Now it's recovered about half of that. We're down about 30 points right now, or about 0.25%. S&P down about 0.6%, call it 24 points. It's been down lower. It was down over 33 points not too terribly long ago. So that's the markets that we're in. Very, very volatile, very, very strong movements. We're looking at a VIX trading really close to that 23.5 level. And that's the kind of movement that we are getting right now. If we had a 16 VIX, you'd expect the S&P to move about 1% per day. You got a 32 VIX, you're looking for about a 2% move today per day. Right now at 23.5, you kind of split things up a little bit there. Well, about 1.5%. We are getting movement. There is no doubt. If you look at the movement throughout the day, the intraday movement, we have it in space. It's unbelievable how much movement we have. As a matter of fact, we're starting to kind of flatline right now. We'll see if we start to get a little pickup now from the Dow, because what's been pulling on the Dow so far? Walgreens. Why is Walgreens down as much as it is, 9% today? Competition from Amazon. And that definitely puts a lot of fear in companies. They shouldn't, by the way. They should not. When Amazon goes in to your space, if you look at it over time, the companies actually, the initial reaction is negative. They press on them. And then eventually these companies come right back and they can compete with Amazon. And people just, for whatever reason, think they're the big bad wolf in just about everything. They are not. I will tell you that. They are not. Go back and look. Take a look at when they were going after Kroger's. Take a look at when they've gone after other different companies. They do well, they compete, but they also make their competition better. That's what I'm expecting right now from the Walmarts and the CVS's of the world and so forth. So Home Depot, could they have had a better quarter than they did? Probably not. Absolutely extraordinary. And this deal with Home Depot Supply, that's going to really favor them towards the pros. So there's a lot of reasons to look at that and say, why is it lower? I'll tell you why it's lower. Because it was sprinting. This is a stock that's had a really great performance this year because of all the right reasons. They've done everything right, and they continue to do things right. But eventually people start to look at the PEs and they get a little bit nervous and they start to say, well, we've had a great run. Maybe I'll take off a little bit. That looks like what we were seeing, at least early on, about down 2.5% early on. We only had 3 names in the Dow that were in the green early on. Everything else, 27 names, all of them in the red, and a big time red when we're talking about names in, like, for instance, the financials. I talk about the industrials all the time. That's really pressing on the markets right now. Boeing, you got Dow, you got Honeywell, throw in a 3M. That's a press to the downside. And those financials, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, American Express really getting hit pretty hard, but that's a name that's been exploding to the upside as well. So you're just seeing a little bit of give and take in these markets. We are stone cold stopped right here at down 275 on the Dow. So it continues to hold there. So look at the NASDAQ though. One of the reasons the NASDAQ, at least early on, we've had a little bit of positive. Take a look at Tesla. Entered in the S&P 500. That stock absolutely rocketing the upside. It was up about 11% last I looked. Probably moved around a little bit since then. Tech up about 0.5% early. Semiconductors were up about 1% early. So a lot of different movement there. And the pulling side of the market as well, energy down about 2.5%. But it's names like CV. I'll tell you what, Chevron had a monstrous day yesterday, giving back a little bit today. BP, ConocoPhillips, add in Diamondback and Continental, EOG, a lot of these various energy plays starting to give back a little bit after having a really tremendous run to the upside. Makes a little bit of sense. We have had a lot of option activity in some of those names in the energy space, and you just have to be disciplined. When you got those names and they move, you have to do it. Whether that takes hours or days, whatever it might be, discipline is the key. You hear me say DDA, been saying that probably for the better part of the last 15 years. Well, what does it mean? Discipline dictates action. That's what it means. So if you have discipline, it will dictate where you have to take action and start to shift around a little bit. Everybody's going to have a little bit of a different program on how they want to do that, but don't be a pig. That's all I can tell you. Do not try to be a pig. You have to be very disciplined. We've got great guys here that can help you with that. They can teach you how and understand the options world. That's what Market Rebellion does. We got a great education team. So definitely look into that if you get a chance. So I got a little unusual option activity for you guys. By the way, in the first 40 minutes of the day, we already had more than 10 unusuals hitting on the systems. Now it's quite a bit more than that. Now that we're an hour into the day, a little over an hour into the day. The first one that hit is the one that intrigued me the most was Valet. And I've been talking about this for a while. Some guys, Tony Dwyer has been great. He's talking about banks and tanks, and he's been on it for a while, and he's been right for a long time. It's been a great job there. I think if you add to energy or throw in the rock stocks, and when I say that, it's the steel, it's the iron ore, it's a lot of those various names, the Freeport McMorans. How about Valet? We had some great buying in there today. And I was looking down, stock trading about 1236, so it's just under 12 and a half. They're buying. This week's expiring. Be careful. They will expire on Friday. The stock has to make a move in the next 3.5 days, almost 4 days. So they bought 6,300 of the Nove 12 and a half calls. They're 13 cents up to 19 cents. These trades are trades sometimes that I really do love because the potential is there and risk reward. If indeed this is something that you agree with in terms of the rock stocks making a little bit more move to the upside, maybe they will, maybe they won't, but we got a nice buyer in there of 6,300 of these. So a lot of unusual option activity today. I love what we're seeing, and I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow when you come back for the take.